Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mobile Overview Report webinar for the second quarter of 2022. So that would be April through June of 2022. I am your host today. I am Ken Jones, the Vice President of Marketing for Scientia Mobile. And with me today, I have Amar. Give yourself an introduction, Amar. You there?
Yes. Hey, I'm Amar, and I'm the lead mobile data analyst here at Cinch Mobile.
Yeah, Amar is crucial in helping us assemble, collect all this information, and analyze it. Today, we're going to go through a number of different topics. We're going to start with some of the highlights for technology that we've run. The iOS 16 beta that is being released, we do a little deep dive into what devices are compatible with this new operating system from Apple. The second subject matter we'll go over is frozen user agent strings, looking at how Google and their Chrome releases are progressing and look at the whole process for deprecating essentially the user agent string on Chrome. The third topic we'll look at is smartphone RAM. We look at what is the most common amount of RAM you'll find in a smartphone, and this is very important to developers for apps. And then we'll go over some of our standard, what we call our standard mobile overview reports, where we look at the popularity of different smartphones, operating systems, and we'll leave some time for questions if people have them. So let's move on to the iOS compatibility. So the big headline here is that the new release that Apple is putting out of their operating system, iOS 16, which I believe it comes out. Does it come out today, Amar? Is that right?
No, it will come out sometime in the future. But the Apple is announcing new iPhones today, which will likely
Okay.
launch with iOS 16.
Big Apple announcement today. Okay, so but they currently have iOS 16 in beta, and the big headline here is that iOS 16 will not run on all devices. So they're essentially sunsetting a lot of iPhones. Of course, these are older devices that probably are getting to the end of the life, but I see a lot around. I have a couple of friends who are still carrying around the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6. And this adds up to a fairly large number, over 10%, 11% of iPhones that we see out in the market and actually used will not be compatible with this. So this has a number of repercussions for those devices. They won't be able to use all the new features that are coming with iOS 16. Apple has described these as personalization features, deeper intelligence, and better ways to communicate and share. That sounds pretty nebulous, but I think it really comes down to lock screens, notifications, being able to customize those, voice recognitions, smarter dictation, and better ways to do messaging. So the majority of the 11% comes from the iPhone 7, which is the newest of the ones that are not being supported. And people on these devices will be stuck at I believe it's iOS 15.6. In our MOVR report, we actually show the progression of operating systems, iOS operating systems, and how quickly they're deployed and adopted by most of the iPhones that are out there. I Apple is much more effective at pushing their operating system upgrades compared to Android. But at the flip side of that is that certain devices certainly just won't run the latest version. So these ones will be stuck at 15.6. All right. Let's move on to Chrome updates and the trends that we're seeing in the process that Google has set out for freezing user agents and transitioning to a what they call a user agent client hits. Won't go into a whole lot of detail here about this. There are blogs that we've written that are on our website that you can read. There's a blog in particular about this that has links to a full discussion of the process of freezing user agents and transitioning to client hits. Amar, keep me technically the difference between the two is when a HTTP request is made, typically the browser would send a user agent string. And this is the way the internet has operated for since almost the beginning to communicate, what the client is and what the device and the browser, the operating system, and this is a crucial part of device detection, which is what Wurfel and Scientia Mobile does. But their Google, because they have the power to do this, has decided to transition to a newer technology to replace this called user agent client hints. And instead of the request just sending information, it's more of a negotiation that goes on where the server has to ask for this information and the client responds back. And these user agent client hints there are a number of different type of client hints. The user agent client hints are intended to replace most of the information that was originally found in the user agent string. So in terms of where we are in the timeline, back at the beginning of the year of 2022, Google put out this timeline that showed the progression that they would make both on desktop browsers and mobile browsers to migrate. And when they migrate from the user agent string to the user agent client hints, it's not that they're getting rid of the user agent string, they're just freezing it where it is. This can be rather confusing for a lot of people. But the reality is that from Wurfel's device detection standpoint, we already have integrated user agent client hints into our technology. Today, we're currently reading every user agent client hints that comes to us, and but we're seeing them primarily on the desktop. But we're ready and accurately detecting devices. One of the questions we had was, going back to this whole idea of, how quickly are devices actually updating their Chrome, because you're not going to get these freezes happening until someone updates your Chrome browser. On the desktop, the most current version, the supported version, is on 82% of the devices that we see. Only 18% have not updated to that most recent device. As of today, Amara and I were just looking at this. We're actually at version 105. So we're a little before, we're right around here. And on the smartphone side, they actually get a little better adoption of the most recent devices. 88% of Android smartphones are running the most recent version of Chrome. So Android and Google are doing a pretty good job of pushing recent updates, which makes it puts them in a good position to force this user agent string freezing process. So looking at the timeline, you can see that the freezing has already started on desktops. Uh, in fact, today we see 14% of the desktop user agents strings that we're seeing are already frozen. It's still a good way to go, but this is proof that the process is starting. We haven't seen anything yet on the mobile side, or it's negligible. Let's put it that way. I don't, Amar, anything you want to add there?
No, I mean, I think you said it right. It is a negligible amount that's on the mobile user agent status,
Yeah.
mobile user agent side. But it's going to happen, so you should make
Right.
sure you're prepared for it.
I think yeah, and if you're watching this, you really should prepare yourself. Look at our blogs. There's a kind of a 3 or 4 things that you need to do in order if you have a website and you want accurate device detection, or in the advertising industry and you're keeping track of device detection, you need to set up your servers to request these client hints. And once you've set them up, you're and feeding them into Wurfel will reconcile the frozen ones with the client hints, decide which one's more accurate, and provide you an accurate answer around the device detection. There's another thing that you should be aware of if you're not using Wurfel. If you're using just a basic JavaScript user agent parser, those are going to break. We'll have more to say about that in the next couple of months, but the technology they're using there really has not evolved, and it's time to rethink your use of just a plain user agent JavaScript parser. Um, those those are going to really see some hard times in terms of accuracy in the coming months. Right, smartphone RAM. RAM is the core memory that is important for effectively running a smartphone or any device. And in smartphones, it has a huge impact on your performance. So, over time, like all technologies, the amount of RAM has increased. I was looking back at historical devices, and just looking at like the flagship Samsung S3 back in 2012, it had 1 gig of RAM. Now today, the top of the line Samsung, the S22 Ultra, has 12 gig of RAM. So clearly, over the last decade, we've seen progression in the technology, but a lot of app developers are curious at the um, need to plan accordingly when they're building their apps about the performance specs of a device. And this gives you an idea of what the most common amount of RAM is 4 gigs. That's what we're seeing on most smartphones today. About a third of them have this 4 gig, and about a third have more, and then the remaining third have less. It's a good normal curve, except there are a few out here with 12 gig. So it's interesting to see how this has evolved and shifted over time. Um, Another thing that we are looking at is through our device detection. Not only can we tell the amount of RAM in the devices, but we can also tell the price associated with a phone. And we've divided these up by the amount of RAM and tried to get an idea of how much of a driver or what to expect at certain price points. Um, we divided the prices into 3 tranches. So kind of a budget phone, the below $400, a mid-price phone, between $400 and $699, and then the premium phones above the 699 mark. Most of the Apple devices are above there. Some of the flagship Samsungs are also there. Um, and not surprisingly, I think it's an interesting thing because RAM is probably not the most expensive element that goes into a device, but it is indicative of the performance that you would get, and you pay for performance. So it looks like when you're at the 2 gig level, most of those are the budget phones, 77%. As you get up to the 4 gig, it's about evenly split. Whether you're paying in the $700 range. Um, and then you start to, once you get up to the 8 gig, there's a lot of other things on a phone that really drive the price and the cost. For example, the camera is a much more expensive part of any smartphone compared to just the RAM. So you see a bit of a change there. But yeah, it's to it, the 4 gig mark is where we are today, and I expect that it will probably continue to inch up here as performance and the requirements of smartphones continue to evolve. All right. So, looking quickly at uh, each continent, just going to walk through these. The big takeaway here, from my perspective, is that Apple is dominating most geographic areas when you look at the top phones that are used in those continents. Only when we get to, I believe it is South America and Africa, do you see anything other than an iPhone, or than an iPhone showing up. South America has a pretty diverse top 10 list. So does Africa. Well, um, but Asia and North America and Europe are almost exclusive, or they are exclusively dominated by iPhones. The iPhone 11, even though it's a older device at this point, continues to be the most popular phone in the world. Um, and Amar, you were pointing out to me that an interesting thing, Android used to be the most prevalent operating system around the world, and it continues to be on a global basis. But Amar, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in North America here?
Right. So, as you said, Android is the most dominant around the world, but in North America, that was the case as well. But this quarter, we did see that iOS overtook Android slightly. It's 48% versus 52%, but that's still, the tides have changed.
Right. Yeah. These numbers, they don't move quickly. The operating system ones, but and for a long time they have been kind of stuck where they are. But this is the first time that we've seen in North America the iOS uh, overtaking Android. We have some other stats here about the size of feature phones. Just for definitional purposes, we a smartphone, most people know, the iPhones and the square things were used to be the feature phones were flip phones, but we actually in our definition, we take older smartphones that have specs that are out of date, let's say, and reclassify those as feature phones these days. And there's a full definition that is listed in the back of our MOVR report. But it's important to keep the smartphone definition updated. And tablets are continue to be a pretty small slice of the traffic that we see. Uh, it's interesting. Tablets, from an evolutionary standpoint, really have not stay. People do not buy and refresh their tablets as quickly as smartphones. We see a lot of older iPads primarily out in the market. And it as a segment, it really hasn't grown the same way the smartphones have. Okay. There's more details in here with the entire report. If you have not downloaded it, please go to our website. There is, here, let me kind of pull this over. If you come to Essentia Mobile and go under the developers uh, menu, you can get to the mobile overview report and download the latest report here. It'll ask you for your name, and we will subscribe you when you ask for that. So you'll get these, and you can always unsubscribe. But wanted to put that and if you like what you see in terms of device detection, but perhaps we're not answering all of your questions. And if you do have a question, go ahead and put it in, uh, and we'll see if we can respond to that. But if you want something more customized to your needs, we provide customized data reports. We can pull from specific geographies, certain device capabilities, whether it's the form factor, the browser, the display, the resolution. You can see that we have a full complement of over 500 device capabilities of different types that can answer a lot of really important business questions for you. We can also look at things over time. Whether you want to look back to 5 years ago and see how the evolution has changed. For example, we did a report recently with a medical device company that looked at Bluetooth technology because that was very important to medical devices. Um, and we provide that sort of level of information, see how the Bluetooth technologies have been adopted and progressed over time. Okay. And if you want device detection for your own website or your own business, we can help you do that. Here we're talking about Wurfel JS. Wurfel is our core device detection product. It is comes in a number of different flavors. JS is our JavaScript, and as I mentioned, if you have a UA parser that is probably written in JavaScript today, those will start to deteriorate rather quickly. And putting in Wurfel.js is a quick and easy way to get accurate device detection back for your website, and you can integrate it into other tools like Google Analytics. So, um, so that's all we have for this quarter. We'll be back in another quarter with more device detection information. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at Scientia Mobile. Go to our website and click on the contact button. Amar, thanks for joining me today, and
Thank you.
thanks to all the attendees who dialed in. And we will stay in touch and talk to you next quarter.